Thanks for joining us. I'm Lauren Thompson. The race for governor is heating up and it's charging ahead with 5 fewer people in the running for the Republican nomination. That's after the State Elections Bureau said they had too many fraudulent signatures to meet the minimum required to be on the ballot. And this week, many of them, including 2 frontrunners, were dealt a legal blow by a Michigan appeals court. Tim Skubick is here for you this morning with Andrew Burkle to break it all down.
Thanks for joining us this week, Tim. And 4 Republicans and 2 of the major players in the race for governor have been struck off the ballot, barring a Supreme Court decision. What is the latest on this crazy story that just seems to keep going?
Yeah, it's an incredible story in Michigan political history. Let's underscore the fact that we have not heard yet from the state Supreme Court. So assuming, which you're never supposed to do in journalism, but we have to assume here, that the Supremes keep off the ballot Mr. Perry Johnson and Mr. James Craig and others, this changes the whole face of the Republican primary for governor. First there were 10, now there are supposedly 5. And taking out Mr. Perry Johnson, who was going to self-fund and had lots of dollars, and taking out James Craig, who was doing quite well in Detroit, those are 2 major losses for the Republican Party from a standpoint of candidates who might have been able to win this nomination and then go on to beat Governor Gretchen Whitmer. We now have 5 Republicans standing. There originally were 10. Garrett Soldano is one of them, Ryan Kelly, Tudor Dixon, Kevin Rinke, and Reverend Labant. And they are the ones that are supposedly in, assuming that Mr. Johnson and Mr. Craig and the others are kept off the ballot by the Supreme Court.
I saw you talking a little bit about this earlier in the week, but from the start of the bizarre announcement on Belle Isle until where he got struck off the ballot for fraudulent signatures, what happened with the Craig campaign?
Wow. You know, somebody's going to write an extensive story on this, because what started out was such great potential. Mr. Craig had the backing of some influential Republicans behind the scenes who wanted him to get this nomination. For him to collapse like this is a phenomenal failure of leadership, of the ability to organize, and the ability to deliver when you need to deliver. To not get enough valid petition signatures is basically a major flaw in any candidate's effort. If you can't get on the ballot, it doesn't matter how good you are. He ran into problems. He went through 3 campaign managers. He was raising very little money, and there didn't appear to be anything there. And so this candidacy, if indeed he stays off the ballot, was almost, I don't want to say it was doomed from the get-go, but the launch was ugly, and it sort of went downhill from there.
In light of all this messiness and craziness with the 4 candidates, like 5 originally, who were struck off the ballot, it seems that Tudor Dixon has kind of risen from the ashes and seems to be kind of picking up some momentum, including a big endorsement this week, right?
Well, she's had a very good month of May. Tudor Dixon, who was about 2% in the polls of name ID, has not moved that needle, but she can now start to move that needle with the endorsement a couple of weeks ago of the DeVos family, which will come with it some major money. And also, she just picked up this week the endorsement of Michigan Right to Life. Those 2 combinations move her, if not the front runner, certainly among the front runners. And I think the other guy that probably would be in there would be Kevin Rinke. So she's had a great May. Let's just point out, however, that you do want to have the Right to Life endorsement in a Republican primary for governor. It carries a lot of weight, it carries some money, and of course it carries a lot of grassroots people. However, it is not automatic that the person with the Right to Life endorsement gets the nomination, and history proves that that is the case. In 2010, when Rick Snyder was on the ballot, he did not get the Right to Life endorsement. Mike Cox, the then Attorney General, did. Mr. Cox did not get the nomination. Mr. Snyder did. And so while you want to have the Right to Life endorsement, it's not an automatic ticket to getting the nomination. But she's had a pretty good run so far.
Tim, real quickly, I don't know if you're a betting man, but with everything that's gone on, especially with 2 of the big names, what would you say Whitmer's chance of getting reelected is at this moment?
First of all, it's very interesting. The governor is saying squat. She hasn't said beans about what's going on in the Republican primary, which from a political standpoint is the right way to go. You know what? In the middle of a fist fight, You don't want to get in the middle of that. You want to just step back and let the other guys do whatever they're going to do and mess up their primary and blah, 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 blah. And she can sit back and say, you know, I like what I'm seeing. Now, look, the election is not held today. The governor clearly has some negatives, but you can't beat Governor Whitmer without somebody, and we don't know who that somebody is. In a generic governor's race for the Republicans, that is, we don't know who it is, we just know they're a Republican, she does have some problems. So the governor's got some problems of her own, but on balance, what she is seeing going on in the Republican primary right now must be making her very, very pleased.
All right, interesting as always, Tim. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you both. Coming up next here on The Rundown, we head to Mackinac Island, where political leaders gathered this week to talk about the biggest issues facing our state. We'll hear from the governor right after the break. Stay with us.